All right, today we're diving deep into a massive cybercrime, a true digital heist that hit the very heart of India's transport network. It affected millions of regular people just trying to get a train ticket, and it generated a staggering amount of illegal profit. This is the story of the IRCTC throttling scam.
So, let me ask you something. Have you ever been there? Staring at your screen, heart pounding, waiting for the clock to hit 10 a.m. so you can snag one of those last-minute Tatkal tickets? It's a race against time, right?
And then, poof, you click, you refresh, and they're all gone, in seconds. For years, we all just figured, wow, the demand is insane. But the truth? It was way darker than that. It wasn't just a race. The whole game was rigged.
Now, just to be super clear here, when you hear the words IRCTC scam, your mind might jump to political scandals, things like hotel contracts. That is not what we're talking about today. We're zeroing in on a highly sophisticated cybercrime syndicate that launched a direct assault on the digital ticketing system itself. They literally sabotaged a public utility for cash.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How did they pull this off? Well, at the very center of this whole operation was a secret weapon, a powerful piece of custom-built software.
Yeah, this was no simple script you could just find on the internet. Oh no. The Syndicate had its own developers who created a proprietary advanced tool. It was designed for one thing and one thing only, to give them a speed advantage that was basically impossible to beat.
And get this, it wasn't just one tool. They had a whole arsenal of them, with these intense names like Black TA and Black Cobra. This software was so good, it actually sparked a sort of digital arms race. The developers had to constantly update it to stay one step ahead of IRCTC's security measures. It could snatch up tickets in milliseconds, making the guy who built it the #1 target for the police.
So how did this software actually beat millions of ordinary people to the punch? Well, the real genius of the scam wasn't just that their software was fast. It was that it was designed to make everyone else slow.
Their attack was this brutally effective three-step process. First, their bots would log in and solve all the security puzzles, like CAPTCHAs, before the ticket window even opened. Second, they had all the passenger info preloaded, ready to be blasted into the system the very second the sale began. And finally, because they were so fast, their request would instantly lock up all the best tickets, yanking them out of the available pool before a real person could even finish typing their own name.
This whole process has a name: throttling. The software didn't just book tickets, it was actively designed to overwhelm the IRCTC servers. The best way to think about it is like this. Imagine a criminal gang causing a massive fake traffic jam on a highway. They clog up every single lane, bringing everything to a standstill, so that only their cars can speed through on a secret, empty road. That's what they were doing to the booking system.
And this really lays out the two completely different worlds. On one side, you have a regular person frantically trying to log in, type out the CAPTCHA, fill in the forms. It's a desperate race. On the other side, you have the bot. For the bot, the race was over before it even started. It was already at the front of the line, which is exactly why you'd see that soul-crushing sold-out message, while the syndicate was quietly scooping up hundreds of tickets.
And you've got to understand, an operation this clean, this effective, it wasn't the work of some lone wolf hacker. This was a full-blown, multi-million rupee criminal enterprise. And honestly, it was structured a lot like a legitimate business.
The whole thing ran on a 3-tier system. At the very top, you had the mastermind, the developer who built the software and licensed it out. In the middle, you had these booking hubs, basically call centers running the software on beefed-up computers. And at the bottom, you had the street-level touts, the guys who would find the desperate travelers and sell them the illegally nabbed tickets for a huge markup.
And the prices they were charging? Absolutely insane. We're talking about a ticket that should have cost maybe 3,000 rupees being sold for as much as 8,000 rupees during a busy season. This was just pure exploitation of a crisis they themselves had created.
Looking at these numbers, you can see their whole business model laid bare. They would just tack on this illegal premium, sometimes just 500 rupees, sometimes over 5,000 rupees, right on top of the ticket's actual cost. They literally turned a public service into their own private, untaxed black market.
So, with a system this slick, you have to be asking, how on earth did they finally get caught? Well, it wasn't easy. It took a massive, coordinated, nationwide effort to finally bring down this high-tech network.
It was a two-pronged attack from two key agencies. You had the Central Bureau of Investigation, the CBI, going after the brain of the operation, the developer, the money trail, the whole conspiracy. And at the exact same time, the Railway Protection Force, the RPF, was hitting the streets, raiding the physical booking hubs and rounding up the touts. It was a classic pincer movement.
And here was the kill shot. The entire criminal enterprise depended on that software being constantly updated to beat security. So, by arresting the developer, the one person who could keep the code alive, the CBI essentially cut the head off the snake. Without him, the software was useless, and the Syndicate's edge just evaporated overnight.
And the charges they eventually filed really tell the two sides of this story perfectly. Under the IT Act, for all the high-tech stuff, the hacking, and under the Indian Penal Code for the good old-fashioned crimes of cheating and criminal conspiracy.
But arresting the criminals was really only half the job. This whole digital heist exposed some deep, serious vulnerabilities in a piece of critical national infrastructure. IRCTC had to go back and rebuild its defenses from the ground up.
And so IRCT's response was to basically build a digital fortress. They rolled out smarter anti-bot systems that could analyze behavior, not just raw speed. They completely redesigned their server queue logic to make sure it was fair. And they put in much stricter limits to block the exact kind of resource hogging that the Syndicate software relied on.
But in the end, the biggest lesson here goes way beyond just train tickets. It's this: any high-demand digital system where supply is limited can be exploited. If criminals can figure out a way to engineer scarcity, to make something seem rare, they will absolutely build a black market around it to cash in.
And that's the final and frankly kind of chilling thought I want to leave you with. This time, they hacked a train ticket system. But what critical public service is next? Think about it. High-demand visa appointments, university admissions, crucial exam registrations. The playbook is out there now. This digital heist wasn't just a crime. It was a warning for the future of every important online service we rely on. Thanks for tuning in.